Naruto Storm 4 has the ability to capture the hearts of anyone that comes across it. However, if you don't have someone to guide you through the ropes, it can be tough to progress and even frustrating. Today, let's discuss battle strategy. What is the concept that you should have in mind when you touch the battlefield? Let's get into it. Now, the first thing that comes to mind when someone is coming up with a battle strategy is, which team should I choose? Some choose their favorite characters from the anime, while others choose characters that have their preferred moveset. The truth is, there are definitely some overpowered characters in this game. However, for beginners, I recommend you choose any character you like, because as I mentioned in other videos, the first thing you need to master is your fundamentals. However, there are certain things about your team that you must be comfortable with in order to use them effectively and efficiently. We will cover these things in another video. Fundamentals, or the basic moves and concepts of the game, will form your basis of play no matter who you choose. If these concepts are not mastered, even if you choose the quote-unquote best characters, you will still struggle to win against better players, and you will not understand why you are failing. Moreover, you will become dependent on a character's ability rather than your own skill in the techniques of the game. Okay, so you've chosen your team. I want you to now have this concept in your mind. There are three major aspects of your and your opponent's HUD that you need to pay attention to: the health bar, the substitution bar, and the chakra bar. Now, as a beginner, your first instinct is to only focus on the health bar. You want to know how much damage you're inflicting and receiving. However, this bar is only in the list because it is what allows you to win or lose, and is essentially the whole point of a fighting game. What I want you to focus more on, however, is the substitution bar and the chakra bar. Let's cover substitutions. If you watched my video entitled A First Look at Naruto Storm 4, you would have learned that you have 4 substitutions and they allow you to avoid and or escape damage when used. However, the most significant thing is this: when one is out of subs, they have 8 seconds before they can return. This means that if you can get your opponent in a combo when they have no subs, you have an opportunity to inflict max damage, which, if you practice how to do so with your characters, can be astronomical. So this should be your major battle strategy. Instead of focusing on inflicting the most damage from the get-go, try instead to target your opponent's subs. This is where the strategy comes alive. Remember, a strategy is a mental plan to overcome your enemy. So, essentially, you need to play mind games with your opponent. Your goal is to get them to the point where they have no substitutions left, all the while ensuring you yourselves are not left without subs. So the mind game is taunting, baiting, and conditioning, which we will discuss in another video. But let's talk about baiting. In fishing, bait is the food used to entice the fish into your trap, which is the hook. All the fish sees is this worm floating in the water with no form of defense. However, it's a trap to entice the fish onto the hook. Likewise, while playing this game, you are actively doing things that will make it seem that you are left vulnerable. However, it's simply a trap to entice your opponent to leave themselves vulnerable. This is why my next video will explore the different times a character is left vulnerable. So make sure you like and subscribe to stay tuned with these weekly videos. So, even if you go in for a head-on attack, you should already have your defense in mind. Ask yourself, if this attack fails, how will I cover myself from being attacked? Here's an example. You may desire to attack, so you chakra dash your opponent, but he reads it and blocks. Now if you bounce off of your opponent's guard, you will be left vulnerable to attack. So that vulnerability becomes the enticing worm floating in the water. What will you do to cover your own vulnerability? You can probably do a jutsu immediately after bouncing off of the guard. So when they try to attack you, they end up being hit by it. According to the analogy, that jutsu has become the hook. So if your opponent fell for the bait, they are left with two options. 1. Receive the damage of the jutsu, or 2. To use a substitution. But for you, it's a win-win situation. Now here's another typical example. You may have your opponent in a combo and there is the temptation to do the whole combo and see that lovely animation at the end. However, if you do that and your opponent subs, you'll be busy comboing nothing and left wide open. Remember, you are not only targeting your opponent's subs and health, you are also attempting to preserve your own. So instead of finishing your combo, it may be better to cancel it after a few hits by maybe jumping and blocking, for example. So when your opponent subs and dashes, you'll be safe, which here means not having received damage or lost any subs. Canceling will be your best friend, so learn the different forms of canceling in the card above. Now I also mentioned taunting. Some people taunt by troll spinning, and they do this to upset their opponent so they become super aggressive and sloppy, leaving themselves vulnerable. Some may charge chakra in the distance so their opponent thinks they are vulnerable, but the plan was always to dodge with a jump then dash in. There are a plethora of options, but whatever you do must be calculated. You have to know your way to protect yourself with every attack you do. Hopefully, I'll be able to showcase these different techniques with the help of other YouTubers. When you finally get your opponent on no subs, it's time to get them in a combo. Use your character's movesets and abilities to inflict max damage. This can turn a match completely around. Many times with beginners, they get so excited that they can finally get damage off that they forget that max damage is needed. Do not lose your opportunity to maximize your damage, dropping your combos early and now losing that great opportunity you had to maximize damage. Look at the video in the card for an example of how getting your opponent on no subs can completely turn a match around. So learn ways to maximize your damage output by extending your combos with cancels. Lastly, as mentioned, pay attention to your opponent's chakra bar. Remember, chakra empowers most things in this game, so if your opponent is low on chakra, their options are very few. Do not allow your opponent to comfortably gather chakra. Ensure you pressure them when they are low on chakra, and you will be amazed at how this can break your opponent down and elevate your gameplay. Here are some other valuable things that I believe every beginner must know. Go check them out. Cactus here. Until next time, see you online.